Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Appreciate you guys joining us. Today we are talking about shifting up, driving a FinOps-Aware executive strategy with custom dashboards. With me today, Jared Howell and Vijay, one of our lead engineers, who is a surprise joined us late. Have some surprises to share with the team. But before we jump into agenda and kind of the problem space we're addressing today, a couple housekeeping items. One, use the chat if you are having any issues or you have specific questions about your specific use case. That goes directly to us. It does not go to everyone. It allows us to answer those more individually. The Q&A, we track everything that goes into Q&A. If you have a specific question about the feature, about how to use it, something that doesn't necessarily get addressed, maybe a roadmap item, use the Q&A so we can track those and address those. At the end, we also have another spot as we transition to address questions, but please ask those throughout the webinar. If there's something topical, we will interrupt. Jumping into the agenda. So, like I said, we're talking about the need to shift up. First of all, the problem space. What does shifting up really mean? How does that relate to executive strategy? And today we're not going to really bore you with slides. We're going to spend a lot of time actually in demo doing creating custom dashboards, showcasing how we can use that with executive strategy. Vijay, our surprise guest today, is going to be doing some sneak peeks into some of the cool stuff that's coming with Intelligent Assist and some of our other dashboard and reporting stuff. And then roadmap, what's next for custom dashboards, some of the cool features that are going to continue to roll out as the next couple of months roll on. Like I said, we do have time at the end for Q&A. We also have time throughout for Q&A. So please ask questions. Please bring those up as you have them. But jumping kind of right into the problem space. So as you all are aware, State of FinOps report came out earlier this year, February, March timeframe. FinOps even has an executive alignment category or topic for FinOps this year. So we see this big need to shift up. And the root of that is FinOps is no longer viewed as a financial reporting tool or cost optimization tool. It is a big shift that ties FinOps more to a technology capability that is supposed to be tied throughout the organization, like architecture, engineering, and even platform decision making. For enterprises, we see a lot more of FinOps teams becoming more expected to help the organization drive standards, drive tooling, drive governance decisions. And that can be seen in some of the results from the State of FinOps report. And so the numbers on the right are, if the FinOps team is integrated at a VP level or above, the influence they have on some of these categories. So cloud services, if the FinOps team is tied in with a VP or above, they have 53% influence on how those services get rolled out versus 24% at a director level. Even a cloud provider is 47% versus 16%. And then workflow placement is 28 versus 12. There is a big need for FinOps teams to be providing substantially more information, for more detail into the C-suite, into their executive level teams. And FinOps is no longer just viewed as financial reporting, which is really, really exciting for us and for our FinOps teams around the world. With that being said, clearly there's a need. FinOps is making it a priority. The FinOps Foundation is making it a priority. I am not going to bore you with slides. You guys are all tired of hearing from me already, probably. We're just going to spend time in the platform talking about how CloudHealth really addresses this need. And Jared, I am going to hand it to you for our first demo.
Perfect. Thanks, DJ. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. For those of you I don't know, my name's Jared Howell. I'm the Group Product Manager for Cloud Financial Management. And today we're going to talk about driving executive alignment and kind of the mechanics of how you do that in the platform. Okay. Now, the idea here is that for a long time, CloudHealth was kind of a public cloud platform, right? But as the FinOps landscape is changing, we have adapted to encompass more and more scopes. Okay, so now you have lots of information. FinOps leaders are responsible for more and more data. How do we aggregate, ingest, and normalize those data across those different scopes, and then give you a way to kind of bring that all together using dashboards? Okay, so the first thing I want to highlight, some of you may not be aware, is we have a newer feature called Data Connect. And And Data Connect is all about bringing in any additional data that you want. Okay, so you can see here in our demo tenant, we have dozens of data sets. We have data sets on Databricks. We have product profitability metrics from unit economics. We have things like OpenAI, Anthropic. We have lots of data here available from different sources um, that we want to start to normalize and bring together. So, step one, when you're thinking about executive alignment, is what data is necessary for the executive to make decisions, or what data is necessary for you to drive change across all of the different organizations you're responsible for supporting. Right? A lot of you are FinOps, small FinOps teams with a broad range of stakeholders. So while we use the word executive somewhat loosely, this is really about driving alignment across the organization as well. Okay. So step one is figure out what data you need, and then either using our out of the box connector for Databricks, and here in a few days, you'll see a new one for OpenAI, or using our custom file upload to upload any data set that you'd like, either from S3, Blob, or you can even upload from a local CSV. Start to bring all that data into the platform. Okay. Now, after we've got the data in the platform, and we won't spend too much time here, we also have the ability to create, join, and merge data sets. So maybe you want to start to bring together your Databricks spend with your public cloud spend, or you want to join the OpenAI connector data set with some kind of business unit mapping. That way you can tie out the OpenAI consumption down to the cost center of the business unit. You can go from the Data Connect raw data sets to start to join, merge, and curate these into a way that makes more sense. Okay. Now, after you have your data sets created, this is when you jump into reports. Now, this is new as of a few days ago, but we now support three types of reports in the platform. There are standard reports that we develop. There's saved reports, which you have saved versions of those out of the box reports. And then there are custom reports you've created. Okay, for the sake of this conversation, the type of report doesn't overly matter, but the idea is you've gone from raw files to joining them at the data level to then visualizing them in a way that makes sense. Okay, so these are kind of all the building blocks when we think about dashboards. All right, so now that we've got the groundwork, let's jump into the more interesting stuff. So some of what you're seeing is net new. There are some new things here that are going to be going live in your tenant over the next few days. Most notably is the concept of KPI widgets. So you can see here on this dashboard, we have a CFO who's responsible for multiple types of spend. They can look at their Databricks cost, their AI cost and unit cost, their effective cost across clouds, all in one place, and have the ability to drill into each of these measures. Okay. And then if we scroll down, you can see we've also aggregated kind of the deep dive into Databricks, unit economics, and then spend by line of business provider, and then an effective cost trend. Okay. So the idea here is you've gone from disparate data to joining the data sets, to creating reports, to finally aggregating this all in one place. Okay. Now let's walk through a little bit of the how. So if I click edit layout, some of this will be kind of old news to those of you who've been using the new experience for longer. But in the new experience, you have access to a widget library. So you have a series of out-of-the-box widgets, things like effective savings rate, cost history, commitment savings, and then you have a series of custom widgets. So we'll start with report. The report widget in the new experience allows you to embed any report that you want directly into the dashboard. So at the top, these are standard out-of-the-box reports. S3 breakdown is a saved report. Does this work, Jared, is a custom report, right? You have the ability to embed any report you want. In the classic experience, you were limited to only saved reports and dashboards. Any type of report can be embedded on a dashboard in the new experience today. Okay. Now, the other type of widget that we've just added is KPI widget. So for executives specifically, oftentimes digging through a full report or a full chart to find the answer is too much work. So we want to give you the ability to create custom KPIs. So if I click add KPI widget, here again, I can select any report that I want. we look at something like EC2 cost and usage. You can see here I can select the granularity. Because this report is automatically in daily, it will default to daily, but any granularity that exists in the data set, you have the ability to go and start to track. And then you can select up to 2 measures. So maybe I want to look at something like how does my effective cost compare to my build cost? Maybe I want to show my executive how much I'm saving based on a combination of amortization, commitments, all of the things that come into my ESR. Well, I can compare the effective cost to the build cost. In this case, we'll pick sum, but you do have the ability to compare the max value, minimum value, and average value. And you have the ability to change the time period. So if I want to have this relative to always be last 2 months, or I want to click a specific range, or only include custom months, you have the ability to configure all of these. Okay. Drill settings we'll talk about here in a second. And then finally, you can enable comparisons. So maybe I want to show the comparisons as a percentage. I can click OK. And now I have the ability to compare. In this case, my effective cost and build costs are the same, but the idea is you have a primary and a secondary and a way to compare the two between them. Okay. Now, one thing we talked about earlier was drill path. So for a dashboard, specifically on a KPI, there are 3 types of drills. So if I drill into build cost, it will take me to the report that backs that KPI filtered on build cost. So you will always be able to immediately disaggregate the number that is present in the KPI. And the same applies for the unit cost below. Now, the next thing you can do is click View Report. So if we go back to our settings, if we configure a drill here through the Configuration tab, I can actually default the dimensions that will be present. So I can get the x-axis and the category when I drill. So maybe I want to have my third drill path configured to something different. I have the ability to specify that here. And then going to that will just take me to whatever I've outlined in the drill path. Okay. So always with KPIs, you have up to 3 drills. Okay. Now, something else that's interesting that most customers don't know about is there's actually another way to configure drills. So here, maybe I have an internal SharePoint site, or I have another kind of outside knowledge base or help center that I use and kind of distribute to the business units I support. I can actually link to different places here. So here I've linked to Hello World, but you can link to any URL that you'd like. And this little pop out means it's going to open it in a new tab. Okay. The other thing you can do is link to any place in the platform. So maybe your executive is looking at, well, my month-to-date effective cost is great. Like this is important for me to know. But what if I want to see why that cost is changing? Well, you can actually configure the next step directly for your stakeholders right here. So by clicking that drill path on the effective cost, I have told it, please take me to Smart Summary instead. And then you have the ability to navigate very easily throughout the platform. So to configure these navigational drills, you will click Edit, you will go to Action, and you will select either URL or Dashboard. URL is exactly what it sounds like. All you need to do is put in the URL that you would like to populate. URL parameters is a completely optional field. Dashboard will give you a list of the dashboards that you've already created. So maybe you want to link from your CFO dashboard directly to realize savings, for example. You have the ability to come here, and then you can link text, change the link text to realize savings. Click OK, and now your drill path will be updated, right? So you have a lot of flexibility with how you start to configure the next step for your stakeholders. So for those of you who do business unit alignment meetings, for example, getting the ability to kind of premeditate some of their questions and then configure drill paths to kind of answer that next step has been a big value add for some of the customers that have adopted this. Okay. And so now we can imagine that my dashboard is in a good state. Let's go ahead and revert the edits. You have a couple more controls about how you distribute this information. Okay. So in the classic experience, for those of you using a multi-layered org approach, what you had to do is you had to create a dashboard or create a report at every single organization. So in the demo sandbox, that would mean creating one for ABC, CMBU, engineering, and so on. And it was a lot of work to do that kind of click ops and manually recreating your dashboard every time. In the new experience, we allow you to create one dashboard at the top level and publish it to all orgs. Okay. So maybe you have a common dashboard that everybody cares about, but you still want it to be filtered on the intersection of sub-OU data. You create one dashboard, publish to all orgs, and now you have the ability to have that dashboard filter down automatically to only the data that is supported in each sub-OU. Okay. So again, dashboards in the new experience, very powerful feature. What we found is that customers who are adopting dashboards, their usage goes way up. It's much easier to drive executive alignment, have common places that everybody views and speaks the same language, all in the same place. And then I guess the last dashboard feature here that I want to highlight, the home dashboard is supposed to be your own, right? You can do whatever you want with the home dashboard. So what do I mean by that? When I come here, I can actually make this my default. So if I click Edit Settings, I can change the default for any of these categories. So on the left-hand nav, cost overview is actually home, cost optimization, realized savings. Maybe you want to make a home dashboard that is different and it is just unique to your business. And there's no way CloudHealth would ever be able to anticipate it. You can actually override our home dashboard so that every time your users log in, they see exactly what you're looking for. Okay. Let me pause here to see if there's any questions.
We've got a couple. So, first question, will there be light mode available in NX? Vijay, I believe you will be touching on this in a little bit. Um, Specific to dashboards or specific to reports. So first, do all saved classic or flex reports get imported, or do they need to be recreated? I know this is something we've addressed even a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah, so for saved reports, we will migrate them as we onboard the data set. And so if I go to reporting and I click reports, so today, the three out-of-the-box reports in Classic that we've migrated are RDS cost and usage, AWS data transfer, and AWS EC2. If you have saved reports based on these three, they should be showing in the saved reports tab already. Excuse me, as we onboard more and more data sets and we port more and more reports from Classic to the new experience, we will continuously migrate your saved reports automatically. For custom and flex reports, everything is shared. So all of the backing data for these is shared across Classic and the new experience. You will not have to recreate any custom or flex reports, and you should not have to recreate any saved reports. It'll just be kind of a bit of a waiting game until we onboard those specific data sets.
Follow-up question, thanks. How about migration for saved classic or flex reports for GCP data sets? I believe that
Yeah,
that's the second part of your question, that once those are in the new experience, they will be migrated over.
yeah, that's right. So same thing there. For GCP flex reports, exact same functionality. Those should be there today. For GCP saved reports, it will be the same model. Some of the first data sets we're looking at supporting is the GCP invoice. And then there's a couple more that are on the short list in terms of like the resource specific cost and usage.
And then our last question, which is dashboard specific, very good question, I think. Is there a limit on the number of dashboards that can be configured?
No, there's not. Yeah, you can have as many dashboards as are useful. It's kind of the same model as flex reports and saved reports. We don't want to, like, I don't think dashboard sprawl is a problem. Like, I want you to be able to create as many as are helpful for you. And so we'll continue to do that. Can the dashboard be multi-cloud? So this one's a bit of a kind of answer. Okay. So if we go here, there's nothing stopping me from bringing in data sets for multiple clouds. I have month-to-date AWS, month-to-date Azure. I have AI from the OpenAI Data Connect. I have Databricks from the Databricks Data Connect. You're able to combine as many data sets and data sources as you want to. Now, if you had a pure multi-cloud data set, for example, imagine you did a union all of AWS, Azure, and GCP billing files, and you wanted to put reports on this dashboard that was a combination of those three, you wouldn't have a provider filter here. So if your widgets are cloud specific, or if your widgets are multi-cloud and you want to view a multi-cloud view, it's supported. If you have multi-cloud data that you would then like to pivot by provider, we'll talk about in the roadmap section, but that's a dashboard filters use case, which is a roadmap item for us.
No other questions right now. Do you want to hand it off to Vijay for our sneak peeks?
Yeah, let's do it. So Vijay, for those of you who don't know, he's one of our lead engineers working on Intelligent Assist. Intelligent Assist today is our generative AI chatbot. Okay, now over the past year, we've gotten a lot of feedback on the usefulness of this chatbot. It does some things pretty decently, but what Vijay is going to show you is the new and improved agentic version of that chatbot. It does things like thinking, right? Which sounds a little bit nonsensical to say out loud, but the previous model had a lot of guardrails around it that stopped it from kind of thinking on its own and providing direct context. So think of this new one as a new and improved version focused right now around the Q&A aspect of generative AI. As we get more and more kind of development done, we'll start to onboard additional agent support, things like creating dashboards, creating reports, creating asset queries. So this is kind of a sneak peek of the first iteration of what you'll see.
Thank you, Jared and TJ. So let me share my screen, and I'm very excited to share the new things we're building in Intelligent Assist. So I hope everyone can see my screen.
You are good.
AI is so 2025. So for 2026, we bring you agentic intelligent assist. So you might ask, what is agentic intelligent assist? Like, what can it do? So as Jared mentioned, the intelligent assist feature we have now is awesome in my opinion, and it does a lot of things. But as Jared mentioned, one thing it cannot do is orchestrate different parts of the platform to perform tasks it's not like just like put together on the runtime based on the user query. So we're trying to build that and give the users a feel of what it might be. So to kick things off, let's start with something simple. So what if I just am a user? I'm going to pretend to be a user for the purpose of this demo. And I would be like, hey, what is effective cost in AWS? So what Intelligent Assist does is, as you can see, is thinking. It is able to do tool calls. It's able to like spawn agents. And in the background, what it does is it'll like read through the cloud documentation and some of our data sets. And it'll like bring you like an answer that's grounded by facts, so that like what you see, like you will find in other material as well. But what if so it did like answer what effective cost is. But what if like you want to like be a little bit more specific, like or like you want to understand more? So I could ask something like, "Hey, can you give me an example of what effective cost is?" So by asking for an example, what it's going to do is it's going to think based on like your what your previous question is. And it's going to think about, hey, like the user asking about effective cost, so it understands the context that we're speaking in. And it's going to give you an example where like, $100 per month, and like, like real numbers, not real numbers, like fake numbers that's made up with like different scenarios and like how effective cost is calculated. Again, like you will not find these numbers in any of our like material. This is just the intelligence just thinking and trying to help the users answer their specific questions. All right, this is good. So I now understand what effective cost is. So what if I want to see this in a report? So I could say, hey, can you take me to a report where I can see this? The other aspect of intelligent assist that I want to point out is we had this feedback where the previous reports, like we want to make this like conversational. It's like having a discussion versus you ask a question and then it just like answers, hey, here you go. So we try to make it as conversational as possible. So this feels more like a agent that you can talk to, that you can work with, and not just like a question answer bot that you see on like a lot of like other tools. Um, so when I asked, hey, can you show me this report? It understood that we're talking about effective cost. It understood that we're talking about cloud, like AWS. So it brought me to like cost history where it pre-populated like AWS effective cost. So it now has brought me to a report with pre-populated filters. But what if I change my mind? I'm like, hey, like, AWS is good, but can I see the same concept in Azure? Um, so let me actually navigate to the home screen. Okay, it did navigate. What I want to show is like it doing the navigation. I'll do it like on another turn, but as you could see, it populated like Azure effective cost. It like did take me to like home screen, like showed it to Azure. So you do not need to know specifically how to get to like a certain page, or you do not need to specifically know about all the features of CloudHealth. You just need to like ask the intelligent assist now. And
And this is really like a kind of, so the sneak peek here is that if you have users who are newer to the platform and don't understand where to go or what reports they should be using, Intelligent Assist can help them. Now, the call out here is for those of you who create a large number of reports and dashboards. If you add descriptions to those dashboards and reports, Intelligent Assist will be able to guide your users. So if you input descriptions for all of your reports, it'll make Intelligent Assist and our model that much better at helping guide your users to the right places. So to get ready for this release, I would strongly encourage that you update descriptions for things like data sets, reports, dashboards. That way you're ready to go once we launch.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. Yes. The more like the more descriptive we can be, the more helpful the intelligence assist could be. The other thing I want to point out is I'm gonna ask like a question that's not super indicative of like what the user is intending. In like one in the prompt itself. So as you can see, the intent is I'm looking at like cost history. I want to like I'm talking about effective cost. So all I need to know is, hey, what about GCP? So I intentionally navigated the homepage to like show this. Is as you can see here behind me, it did take me to cost history and like did like the pre-population of like the provider. So it does because like it understands that the discussion is about like cost history. It is able to like do these things where like it like does navigation for you. Um, this is some of the agentic features of like it deciding based on like previous inputs and what it has to do. This is not just limited to like just like taking to a page and answering like questions about the cloud. You could ask it questions about the platform. You could say, hey, how do I subscribe to a report? And what this is going to do is it's going to think like it's going to do like look at like how to do things in the platform, and it's going to give you like detailed instructions on like step-by-step like guides on, hey, like you could do certain things like you do like open reports. And in the interest of time, I'm not gonna like dig through all of this, but you could ask it follow-up questions just like before. If you have questions on how do I get this delivered, or like what does flex reports mean, and like it's gonna like be like it's not going to be like a question answer bot. It's going to be like an assistant that like you're or like someone you can work with like to understand the cloud even more. Um, for the last piece, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ask it, hey, I want to see the AWS cost change over time. How can I do this in CloudHealth? Why this specific questions you might ask? So in CloudHealth, the cost over time had it's not there's like multiple reports where you can see cost over time. Um, so what ends up happening is it just not just understands um that like there's one report, each report has its strengths. So it gives the user multiple options of you can go to like cost history to view the reports. You can go to like smart summary to like view the reports. So it also tells you how to do it and why each report like does a specific job, what its strengths are, so that like someone looking at this could decide what they want to do. So like even if you're not exposed to like something like smart summary, you could like it does tell you how to do this. It also gives you recommendation like widgets that Jared talked about, like how to widgets. So the more features like we come out with, Intelligent Assist is gonna like be there. Like you don't have to like know all parts of the platform. Intelligent is gonna work with you to like expose you to like very like if there are like, new capabilities. And for someone who asked about light mode, you can work with light mode. So this is coming very soon. Um, that I think is the end of my demo. I guess I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, Jared, you flagged one about intelligent assist
Yeah.
queries being historically recorded, and we'll be able to download the queries to use them for training or future reference. Want to answer that
Yeah.
live?
So we don't record or store your prompts. We view your prompts as your IP. And so we don't pass those to the model for any training or purposes, things like that. Now, we do take advantage of types of caching when things are within the same session, but as a rule for privacy, we do not store and therefore cannot provide your queries as download.
Hope that answers the question. If not, please feel free to throw in a follow-up. Uh, what's coming next? Jared, I believe this is you.
Yeah. So I'm actually just gonna steal your screen share
Please
and
do.
show you guys. Okay, so obviously this is a staging build, and so bear with me if things act a little funky. Um, but what we want to do is we want to keep giving you more and more controls over how you lay out and define your dashboards. We want to improve the quality of life for anyone creating dashboards. Okay, so there's going to be a couple things you get in an upcoming release. Release date TBD on purpose, but you can see this is in progress. The first one is a section. So you'll be able to group multiple reports into this section compound and continuously add things to it. Now, this adds a couple benefits. I can collapse sections. So maybe I have a huge dashboard today, and I have an AI section, a SaaS section, an Azure section, and it's kind of annoying to do a business review with all of that open all the time. Well, now you can collapse and hide things. You can group them into like buckets. And then what you can see here is actually my section filter. So I have service name for EC2 here. You'll have the ability to come in and define filters at the section level. So someone talked about multi-cloud earlier. You could have a filter here that is a provider filter that allows you to pivot in between those different providers in a multi-cloud data set. Now, the reason we have section filters first is because you need to have like a logical intersection between the filter and the data sets. So in this example, if I had an AWS, Azure, and GCP widget in the same section compound, and I had a filter that was only for AWS, well, I would break two of my widgets, right? So we want to give you the ability to group like things with commonality together and then apply a filter that exists in all of the underlying data. So that's why this is coming first. Okay. Now, the other thing that we're talking about is cloning. Okay. So a lot of you have one report that you would like to back multiple widgets, but today you have to go in, you have to bring it in, you have to do all these steps, reconfigure. But what if you just wanted to clone it and store the existing configuration, but make small changes to it? You can keep adding more and more empty report shells for layout purposes. You can add, KPI widgets. That way you can click at one time, clone it, clone it, clone it, and change time periods. It's going to make the speed of dashboard creation a lot more simple, right? You also have the ability to clone entire sections. So if you want to add test section, you can then clone the section and then add it here. Okay. So these are some of the in progress kind of things for dashboard that'll be coming soon. The other things we're talking about is subscriptions. So right now you can subscribe to reports in the new experience. We also want to give you the same subscribe to a dashboard, and then finally exporting your dashboards to PDF and PNG. So maybe you want to export a dashboard manually and share it, export the dashboard via API and look at it in a PDF. Those are also roadmap items for us in the near term. All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, Jared. Yeah, any questions, please throw them into the Q&A as we are closing, but I'll share my screen one last time. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you for making the time to join us for 45 minutes today. I appreciate it. I appreciate the engagement. Great questions. Like I said, if you have more, please throw them into Q&A now. Two things. One, please join the CloudHealth community. That is the QR code to our community page. We have a lot of information. Our blogs go there, upcoming events. And speaking of upcoming events, next week, if you are so inclined to listen to Jared and myself for a second week in a row, we'll be doing a webinar called Mind Your Tokens and Cents, Managing AI Spend with CloudHealth. The registration link is available on our community page. We'll be diving into how CloudHealth is now helping users manage AI and AI spend with token analytics and stuff like that. So super exciting stuff there. Jared, or Vijay, any closing remarks?
I'll say I did put my email in the chat. The product team here at CloudHealth really loves talking to customers and hearing feedback. So as you build dashboards, as you have these conversations with your executives, let me know how I can make your life easier. We want to make sure that we're meeting you where you're at. So happy to partner on anything you saw today, or if you have additional dashboarding and reporting features you'd like to see, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Yep. And at the end, as you close the Zoom window, you will receive a survey, how we did, additional feedback, other features you'd like to see. Please feel free to use those blanks if there's additional feedback you have for us. But first, once again, thank you everyone for spending some time with us. Appreciate it, and hope to see you both next week and the following at FinOps X. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.